Good evening. It is Sunday, January 27th, 2013. This is K.Ho with In the Know with K.Ho. Driving home with my puppy Raffy back there, who is squirming around for some reason. Driving home from having dinner with my grandpa, who lives over here near SF State in the St. Francis Wood / Balboa Terrace / Ingleside Terrace neighborhood. It's a lot of slashes, I know. But just like San Francisco, neighborhoods blend and fade into each other without you even noticing it. Sunday nights are always a good time to reflect on the past week and the week that's ahead, and the insights that we gained from them. The insights are pretty much holding steady. Inventory in San Francisco for residential real estate, for homes, for resale homes, or for new homes in general is still down. We're about 50 to 60% off in some neighborhoods for what we really should be this time of year. What does that mean? So instead of having 5 to 10 homes to pick from when you're deciding to do a home purchase, you probably only have 2 or 3. And those 2 or 3 purchases, or 2 or 3 listings, may have and will probably have competitive bidding. The same could be said for the rental market as well. Rents are quite high and are starting to stabilize somewhat. But in the end, you're probably paying a little more, if not the same amount that you would pay if you were going to buy something. The second point is this. There is still opportunity out there, nevertheless. It may be more focused, it may be more concentrated, and may require you to think a little further and to bid a little more than you might ordinarily do. But, as we know, San Francisco is not an ordinary place, and these are not ordinary times. What I'm talking about are the opportunities that have come on. There were a few fixers in the past week that only lasted a week. Namely, I'm talking about 2412 15th Street, also talking about 3645 19th Street, and 3861 20th Street, something like that. Basically, they were all single-family houses, except for 19th Street, which actually was a big unit on top of a smaller in-law rental. The latter two, 20th Street, had 14 offers and went significantly over the asking price of $1,295, and 19th Street got 11 offers, and we're not sure where or how much above the $1,255 price that is, but I'm sure it was higher as well. And not sure about the one over on 15th Street yet. We'll see what it ended up going at. This week, there are a few homes, a nice new fixer project on Cesar Chavez Street between Dolores and Church. It's $959,000 for 1,666 square feet. Haven't seen it quite yet, but the neighborhood is fantastic, and I'm sure that house is a good one. There was a house in the inner Richmond at 8th Avenue that was a court confirmation sale. The list price was $600,000, and I think the first minimum overbid was in the $700,000 price point. So you think that's a pretty good deal, right? Well, it turns out there are 5 tenants at the property, 2 of which had leases until November, and the other 3 were month to month. The lead tenant, who probably is distantly related to the person, it is a trust sale, had apparently become adversarial to the trust administrator. Not a good sign. Basically, that means that there is probably going to be some contentious or dispute or disagreement regarding the disposition of that property, and getting those tenants out may cost a lot more. If we average or guess that the normal tenant payout to vacate a property is anywhere from $20,000, $30,000, or even $50,000 times 5 tenants, that actually might add $200,000 to that figure, and it's not even ready until November, in theory. So you have to dig a little deeper. Another property I saw today that is actually on the market is located in Lower Haight at Page and Pierce Streets. It's on the 800 block, and it's back on the market. Apparently the seller has lived there for more than 20 years. rented out the bottom unit to a family for 20 years, and that family had a son who grew up there, and he eventually moved out, and he actually moved into the middle unit, the guy turned out to be an employee of the owner / person who lives on the 3rd floor. Lots of crisscrossing there, but it's really nice and refreshing to see that there are no Ellis Act evictions, there are no tenant payouts, and the entire building will be delivered vacant. It's the primary colored building at Page and Pierce. The list price is about $1.7 million, which breaks down to about $565,000 per floor and per unit. The units have very tall ceilings. I think it'd be 10 to 12 feet. The top 2 units get a lot of light, and actually the bottom unit gets a fair amount of light for being a bottom unit. There needs to be some remediation work for some dry rot and for some water damage from a roof leak earlier. Nothing typically unexpected, and it's a good neighborhood. That's a hot neighborhood. There's no parking, but you still get this great place at a great price. Now, the interesting thing about that property over at Page and Pierce is that they had a financing sheet there at approximately $1.6 or $1.7 million. If one were to put down 30%, about $500,000, the resulting mortgage payment, interest payment, tax payment, and insurance payment comes out to be about $7,700 a month. Now remember I said that these were vacant units. Each of them have 2 bedrooms that are quite spacious. Even though there's no parking, it's my guess that you would at least get $3,200 per unit, if not more, perhaps $4,000, times 2 or even 3 units. Your carrying costs of that $7,700 are pretty much taken care of. Conversely, there's also much more flexibility because it is not occupied. And that's compared to 8th Avenue, where there are people there and who do have differing interests and expectations. So you can see, tenant occupancy, this is actually the 3rd or 4th point, really does matter. Now, the last point is this. As I've been saying, and I started this podcast, typically people always say that the push of inventory is coming out. And at this time of year, they'll say that it's after the Super Bowl. Meanwhile, other agents will disagree and say that you should put on a listing as soon as possible, given our severe lack of inventory. And also, other situations dictate exigent arrangements. Consider 15th Street, for example. It was on for just a week before it had an offer date that was set 5 or 6 days after they even got the listing. That's what she told me. So, you would think that because San Francisco is in the Super Bowl, that we'd be even more distracted. And all the more reason to have listings come on after the Super Bowl. Well, some informed wisdom tells me that agents will simply have their open houses a bit earlier, because the Super Bowl, after all, starts around 6:30 our time, whatnot. It doesn't really matter, because there'll be people who are looking, people who are missing out opportunities and getting different ones, and it's just the nature of the market here. So, the take-home lesson for that? We'll know it when we see it, and when the opportunity comes and presents itself, be sure to be ready. So the overall takeaway points are, go see your grandfather for dinner. It's always nice to see family. Tenant-occupied buildings, of course, will sell for less than vacant buildings. Opportunities still exist out there, no matter what time of year, and we are still facing an inventory shortage. So if you know anyone or you yourself are considering a sale, think that this is a good time to buy. Just also have a replacement property in mind. That might help. Well, anyway, that's me signing off on a Sunday night. Brisk Sunday night here in San Francisco. It is, once again, this is K.Ho. And this was In the Know with K.Ho, your sporadic real estate update from your trusted real estate professional here at Vanguard Properties in San Francisco, California. And of course, for more about me and my work, happy client testimonials, and other resources, check out www.kevinho.org. Till then, take it easy.